Jose's taken a real measured approach to this offseason. It's hasn't been sexy, and they've lost a lot of starters. And losing Greenlaw hurt. I mean, everyone likes Greenlaw. He's been here a long time. So let's try to go through the pros and cons of the budget cuts, and let's start with the pros to be balanced and positive. We'll get to the cons.
Yeah,
give me one pro.
One pro. I like the budget cuts because now you don't have Kyle Shanahan going Rambo on like contracts and like I gotta get this guy. Or those stories about him running up to like stop a trade of trading away Brandon Ayuk. That was my first reaction of like hearing those and reading those reports of like the 49ers are gonna reel in the cash spending. I was like, cool, I'm for it. Yeah, Kyle Shanahan needs like a little bit of a check and balance. Right? Like he's been a little too crazy with some of these contracts. It's like, all right, come on. Did you really need to give this guy's contract? Was he really extension? Like, you can't pay everyone. And it's funny because I go back to like conversation me and you have when like we were reacting to like the Deebo Samuel, like in 2022 about him requesting a trade. And like, I remember I was advocating for like, no, you're supposed to extend like your best players. And then you push back. You're like, yeah, but you can't extend everyone. So you eventually like were right. So it's like, yeah, even then, like you only had one good year from that extension. So you got to be a little smart in that. So I kind of like that idea. Is like, Kyle, we can't be doing too much of this, but we gotta reel in, brother. We got reel in. Let's take a step back,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it meant that they finally moved on from Deebo Samuel. That's a good thing. It meant that they finally moved on from Kyle Juszczyk. That's a good thing. Like they were paying certain players way too much money for stuff they did in the past, or because they were part of an inner circle of friends. I don't even know what the reasons were sometimes, but it seems like those days are over, and we're only going to spend on players who are like clearly worth it, like George Kittle and Fred Warner, or like you're reducing the core. It was like 13 players. Now it's 7. With a bunch of guys who were cost effective. I guess that's more realistic, especially if you're going to pay a quarterback a lot of money.
Or extend George Kittle, right? Like that's another one you're going to do. So I mean, it's like I think they're still selling out like some good money. It's like Kyle, we can't be like paying everyone that you like. We got to check our biases at the door a little bit. And that kind of was evident a little bit with the Deebo Samuel extension and the handling. And then it's like, man, you kind of should have traded him a year ago. So I think that's what's part of this. It's like how we try letting it your way as much as it's been a success, but we gotta reel it in. All right. We gotta taper it a little bit. It's like when you go to your barber, it's like, you know what, maybe we want a little more. I want a little more of like a taper fade than just like as far as you're going. We need a little more. Let's get a little thinner here.
You remember Harbaugh's first year? A lot of people thought the Niners were going to suck that year because there was kind of a free agent exodus. They lost Takeo Spikes. I lost Manny Lawson. They lost like Taylor Mays, a bunch of starters on a team that wasn't that good. And then you were like, Navarro Bowman's a starter. It's like, well, we don't know. Is he going to be any good? So there's been precedent up for this organization to like pare down the spending, get more cost effective, get maybe second and third tier free agents and win. Because it seems like also a lot of these big free agent signings the Niners have made under Kyle and John haven't really worked out. Charvarius Ward was good. Sherman, pretty good, but Hargrave was terrible. Campbell was terrible. A lot of bad signings.
Yeah, I think that's where pretty much where it starts with it. Just like we gotta like go a little bit. We gotta really like check you a little bit here. It's like we love you. It's almost like and I'll use you and your dad for example. It's almost like if your dad's giving you money and it's like, all right, Grant, go ahead, spend on it, and then he sees what you're spending. I'm like, Grant, why are you spending on all these trading cards or these shoes? Like, what the hell? Like, you're supposed to be smart with your money. Let me take some of that back. Because right now you're getting a little too reckless. So that's like Jed York and Paraj to like to Kyle and John. It's like, hey, we still love you. You're a guy. You ain't going nowhere. But let me take some of that away or bulk of it because right now we already have it sub-invested and you're getting a little too crazy with your spending here.
Also, like this is sort of a consequence of Kyle Shanahan deciding to extend 3 players last year: Ayuk, McCaffrey, Trent Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, those extensions could work out. They haven't worked out yet. They're very expensive, and they're pushing lots of players off the team. It's not just Brock and his extension that's coming up, which he may or may not get. Remember, Lynch said there's no guarantee. But it's very much the Ayuk and McCaffrey and Trent Williams contracts. Like, sorry, Dre. I mean, they couldn't even get Joey Bosa, who's not that expensive. They tried.
Kind of glad
I didn't want him.
Kind of glad not that number. No, you don't want that guy. Well, you just want to go up for her like for a little like brotherly love like song story. Like, come on, we don't need that. Like
one more pro. The team was old, so like re-signing, even Greenlaw, like a guy who's nearing 30 and's had some injury issues. For Denver, great, but for the Niners, they kind of need to get a lot younger. And they have. I think it's cool that Ricky Pearsall is going to get a lot of opportunity next year. My only question, okay, I guess we can go into cons now. So you purge the roster of some bad contracts and you're going to get younger. But the people you brought in, like Luke Farrell, is he an upgrade over Juszczyk? As that, I don't know that he is. I like Mac Jones as a backup, but is he even going to play? And I like Jason Pinnock a little bit. I think he's got some start. He could be good, but really, what have they added? I mean,
Nothing.
damn.
Nothing. It's just a bunch of little scrap heap players. It's just like we just gotta fill our roster and stuff. So I think that's the con. It's like okay, you're letting these players walk, which of course you don't want to overpay for all those guys. And a lot of them, it's like Aaron. I know the guarantees are what's important, but Aaron Banks, $77 million. No thanks. I'm okay off you. Talanoa Funga, 45. You're gonna pay $45 million, 22.5 guarantee for a guy who's just gonna whiff on a tackle and take a bad angle. Have fun with that. But yeah, it's like these other players. It's like I understand you want a budget cut. But there's got to be at least like not a sense of waving the white flag of 2025. And that's where it's like I'm still like not there yet because it's only been 1 week of free agency. It's like, oh, well, let's wait. Because this free agent class was kind of, let's face it, it stunk. It was pretty garbage a little bit. Like I didn't really know too many people that like I was looking, I was like, yeah, I don't know if I like this guy. Like DJ Reed was the most linked player I felt like in free agency, right? But
and he got paid.
And he got paid. And it's not like the 49ers don't need a corner. I never understood why I would see so many like articles or just anything like mentions of like 49ers need a corner. It's like, dude, no, you don't. You just paid Delano Lenore and Ronald Green has the arrow pointing up. At some point, you got to let your players play, right?
And you got to see what you have in Darrell Luter Jr. He's actually looked good at times when he's been given opportunities.
Yeah, and that's another option. So, I mean, you don't really need 3 corners, but yeah.
And you just signed Trey Brown for nothing.
Mm-hmm. So
that's a fine pickup.
Let's see what you got. You know, you pay your coaches to, coach them up. So let's figure that out. I think we're like I guess in terms of the real con here, that's from a grand scheme point to me is this a start of something of going back to the end of the Harbaugh tenure where all of a sudden Jed York and especially Paraj is starting to have that power and starting to make the calls? And is this the beginning of where it's going to start being a tug of war of power? That's where it goes back to your point where you made the video the other day about like, look, Paraj is in charge of the soccer clubs of Leeds United and the Rangers, whatever the else they bought. And it's like, yeah, you know what? Those contracts they shell out are 100% guaranteed unless they end up, trading them, aka transfer, and they just sell the contract to the next bidder. That's where I start getting like, are we starting to see that here? Like, I'm not trying to I think the early seeds have been planted. Now it's about like, okay, how much water and sunshine is going to hit that seed to let this grow to the point where now we have a chaotic kind of conflicted relationship between like obviously Paraj and Kyle and John. It's like, whoa, like what's going on here? Like this is where it gets scary. And I remember like there's been times before in the past where like we've had topics where we said like should Jed York try to like intervene a little bit with Kyle? Should he like try to like almost like be like, yo, what's going on? And I've always been like, no, because I do not want that guy meddling in affairs and having Paraj like have 100% say and have too much power, because we've seen the story. Do we think they've grown? No, that's why it's like, no, let them off. So my thing is like, while the pro is okay, cool, good, we're tapering down Shanahan's little like emotional bonding and too much little overspending. Like that's needed. I think every coach with a power needs should have that. But now it's like, is this beginning to be an early seeds being planted of Paraj now trying to have control, and now we're just going to nickel and dime and barely pay anyone? That's
a great point, because Parag wants to be Howie, but he's not Howie, because Howie and the Eagles spend cash. Mm-hmm. They never have one of these years where like we're just trying to balance the books. Like no, they freaking spend. They spend on Hurts. They spend on all the offensive linemen, the wide receivers, the running backs. They spend on the coaches. No, like Parag is all about saving money, and that's, to me, I don't like I'm from Oakland. I hate the Oakland A's and everything they stand for. And Parag is such a money ball guy that I don't really see. Here's what I'm trying to say. He steps in and he does some good things. You get rid of some bad contracts, but is the team better? It looks worse on paper. You actually have to add starters when you get rid of nine. And like, who is going to really step up and fill it? Like, we've already seen Ronaldo Green was already playing. Freaking like Ricky Pearsall, he'll step up. That's a good one. But like Luke Farrell's not going to make a freaking difference. I'm sorry. And now you need 3 new starters in the defensive line, and you can't add all that in one draft. So it kind of feels like you're punting on 2025 and being like, well, sure, we're not better, but Christian McCaffrey might be healthy and Trent Williams might be healthy, and our schedule is kind of easy, so you never know. But yeah, we're basically playing for 2026. Like that sucks because when you get to 2026, Trent Williams 38, Christian McCaffrey's 30, like that core's done.
I think that's why I really love this topic because it's starting to be, I guess, from a transition from my brain. Like at first it was like, yeah, reel in the cash spending. And then as the days goes by, more information comes out. And now free agency, you see their action. And it's like, wait, what's going on here? Like now
because when we were like anticipating free agency, it's like, well, they're going to get DJ Reed or they'll get Drew Dahlman or like they didn't get anyone that mattered. Not one person. Like what? Is that kind of a year? Damn.
I think I personally don't totally mind that. I think where it starts becoming like, what's the overarching, what's your guys' plan here? Because okay, you let all these players in free agency walk. Because even if they were spending, I don't see them spending $45 million on Talanoa Funga. Like what the heck, Maverick? I wish he was still around.
He works for the Giants. No, yes, I think he's in the PR department for the Giants. He's either he was with the River Cats. I think he's with the Giants now. Shout out to Maverick. He texts me like once a year, and it's usually like in the fourth quarter of the epic Niners loss. He texts me during the Buccaneers loss. I love that guy. Shout out to Maverick if you're watching. Great guy.
Talk about measure. That's a measure guy. But anyways, that's where like going back to like now it's like what's your real plan here? Because I get it, like letting these players walk makes sense, but what Malik Collins, he was healthy, he was an impactful pass rusher. Sure, he doesn't give you much as a run stopper, but and
you didn't replace him.
Where do you replace him? Like
you didn't replace him. Yeah.
Even if your message is we're gonna go young and a little bit cheaper, cool. But even your young, most cheap teams need like that veteran in every position group, right? Like, where's your veteran? You
really gonna draft 3 starting defensive linemen this year? 3? Or are you telling me Tirgos Matos is starting for this team? Jordan Elliott's starting for this team. Like, what is this?
Hasn't been cut yet, and that was a big over the cap guy. Like,
they can't cut the whole team. Maybe they want to.
It's anyway. This is what goes back to your Paraj thing, man. It's like now it's like a power, and then he's like kind of like abusing it too much.
Well, he's literally, I think he has more power with Leeds United than he does with the Niners. I think he's running. He's like the executive, whatever. Oh yeah. And they have the potential to make as much money as the Niners if they're like in the Premier League and successful. So I think that's where his focus is because there's so much growth potential there. And the Niners, like, they spend a lot of money. They're going to keep making about the same amount of money from whatever. Matt Sanders says, y'all watch The Bear. It's Uncle Jimmy coming into the kitchen with receipts. $11,000 on butter. It's Orwellian dystopian butter. I have no idea what he's talking about.
I've heard that show, but I think maybe my cousin watched it. But my cousin's like a freaking addict to like series and movies and stuff. So, I mean, I would have to get a reference for that.
Joey Mellon says, Grant, if you haven't yet, you should try spinning dough in Oakland. I've never even heard of it. Thank you for the recommendation.
He hasn't heard it.
Try out the Hyphy burger though. Do you know there's a place in West Oakland called Hyphy Burger?
He hasn't heard it, but he claims from Oakland. Fake.
Man,
he actually lives in Pinole. You actually live in Pinole.
That's true. It's true. I live in Piedmont, actually. SD49 says, Grant, going to the owners meeting no longer an option. What do you mean?
Going? You're going, right?
Yeah.
I can't wait for that. When is that? Is that the end of the month or next month?
Yeah, it's in like 2 weeks. 30th.
Oh, dude, I can't. That's gonna be a content mill about what's going on, like what's like.
Yeah, because we've already heard Lynch talk about it, but we need to hear Kyle and Jed. What is going on? Kyle, how do you feel about this? And Jed, how do you really explain this? Like, you guys are worth $7 billion, and you're thinking about selling off 10% of the team. Cash shouldn't really be an issue, right?
That's another thing, dude. It's like where I'm starting to shift towards now. Like, okay, maybe if things keep playing out this way for the next few weeks, now I'm gonna be like, okay, now they're going cheap, they're forfeiting it. This is kind of dumb because you guys are like a multi-billion-dollar, $10 billion company, and you're talking about pinching pennies. No one's gonna play a sad violin for you because you already have 7
I'm supposed to be happy that the York saved money.
No one gives a damn about that. Your fans do not care about this. And my uncle, who you've met, is a season ticket holder. He's pissed off. They're raising their season ticket prices.
Exactly. It's you can't slash prices and be like, we're taking a year off, but you need to spend more because we just might go far this year. The schedule sucks. Come watch us play shitty teams. Like, what? No, you got to lower ticket prices in a year like this, but they didn't. That's my problem. They're trying to have it both ways. Yeah, we've gotten way worse, but our core's still here. Like, you won 6 games last year, And now you're worse on paper than last year. And you're hoping that Christian McCaffrey and Trent Williams stay healthy and Ricky Pearsall makes a difference, like, or some rookies, maybe. But this is a team that's probably going to be about as bad as it was last year, frankly.
You know what's worse? The Mavericks raising season ticket prices after they traded Luka. I don't know if that's true, but I think I did see that.
I'd love to know who actually bought that.